What is going on, everybody? Now, some of you will know already who I am. Some of you will have no idea, and some of you will have thought to look at the little name thing that's popped up in the corner. But I am Velpa Gamer. I am the owner and founder of the TopDraw Discord channel, a little Discord channel that I started a little over a year ago for me and 3 other friends to play Magic together. So the fact that there's now nearly 450 of us playing games every day and every week, it's absolutely fantastic. Now, why am I speaking to you today? This is really, really exciting. So some of you will remember a few weeks ago, I sent out a little bit of a feeler to see if anybody would be interested in collaborating on the world's first community-based Magic the Gathering channel. Now, we've done some stuff in the past with some live streaming and some other bits, but I thought it was time to bring you guys on, and you answered. So I had emails, I had messages from an awful lot of you guys, and I am appreciative of every single one. And if we can find the right projects for every single one of you, you will all be allowed to feature your stuff and your creations. But today we are going to feature the first set review from one of our very own TopDraw members. BWags, as you guys will know him, approached me shortly after I put that up. We had a chat, and he was very, very interested in doing a set review for the latest set that's out, Strixhaven School of Mages. And after spending a bit of time doing the editing and helping him out, it's a bloody good review, guys. So here, without further ado, is BWags. That wasn't quite, honestly, because there is going to be a bit more of a do. As just before we jump into the set review from BWags, I want to take a minute to remind you all and share with you all what's going on at Velpa Games. Now, some of you will know Velpa Games is the web store that I started a little over a year ago, shortly after the time that TopDraw was started, as my lifelong ambition to sell Magic became a reality. We started off by making pre-con decks that we were selling to new players who didn't know what they wanted to play and just wanted to get into the game. We grew into a place where people could have decks made for them if they didn't really know what was doing. And recently, as you guys will know, we've started selling sealed products. Velpa Games will always try and be as good with value as we can possibly be, and we just wanted to take a second to point out to you guys that we are one of the most competitive price sites in the UK. So if you're after any new Magic products or any accessories to go with them, or any pre-orders for the upcoming sets, then make sure you check out Velpa Games over on velpagames.com. Right, now let's get back to that review that you've all been waiting for.
Hello everyone, this is Ben here, or BWags as I'm known on the Discord channel. I'm here to do a review of this newest set in Magic the Gathering, Strixhaven School of Mages. I also want to thank Velpa here for this opportunity, and let's get to it. So we have 22 total legendary creatures in this set. The first one is Mavinda, Student's Advocate in white. I think he'd be better in the 99 of a Feather the Redeemed deck. It is actually the only monocolored commander in this set. So I'm going to read it. It costs 2 and a Plains to cast, so legendary creature, of course, the Bird Advisor. It's a 2/3 with flying, and its ability says 0, you may cast target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard this turn. If that spell does not target a creature you control, it costs 8 more to cast a sweat. If that spell be put into your graveyard, exile it instead. Activate only once each turn. You still pay the spell's cost, timing rules for the spell still apply. So here I think it's better in Feather deck because that way every little instant or sorcery card that you were not able to get back into your hand with Feather, now if you play this, Mavinda and Feather at the same time, you will be able to get those instant and sorcery card back from your graveyard and then back into your hand with Feather at the end of your turn. So it is a good card, but for me personally I would put it in Feather and not build around it. So that's again the only monocolored card in white for a commander here. Now let's focus on the 2-color commanders. Here for Simic and Quandrix, or Quandrix I should say. So it's green and blue, and there's 4 new commanders. You have Tanazer Quandrix. This is the first one I'm going to focus on. It is 3, blue and green. It's an Elder Dragon, so 4/4, it's flying and trample, and when it enters battlefield, you double the number of +1/+1 counters on target creature you control. And when it attacks, you may have the base power and toughness of other creatures you control become equal to Tanazer Quandrix's power and toughness until a turn. So here I would put it as a commander in the +1/+1 counter deck. I think just because, again, here you double the number of +1/+1 counters on a creature when it enters battlefield, and then when it attacks, all of your creatures can have the base power and toughness equal to Tanazir's toughness and power. So here, as a card, it's already 4/4, so all of your other creatures can become 4/4 if they have counters. Let's say you have a 2/2 with 2 counters on it, 2 +1/+1 counters on it, it will then become a 4/4 with 2 +1/+1 counters on it, so it can become very powerful very fast. The second commander in Quandrix that I chose is Jazzy Oracle Arcavios. Again, Arcavios is the plane of Strixhaven. So it's a human wizard, it's a 5/5, it costs 2 blue and 6. First ability is discard a card, return Jazzy to its owner's hand. And then the second ability is Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, you reveal the top card of your library. If it's a non-land card, you may cast it by paying 1 rather than paying its mana cost. If it's a land card, put it onto the battlefield. It's actually double face cards, so on the other side it's a sorcery called Journey to the Oracle, costs 2 and 2 greens. And you may put any number of land cards from your hand onto the battlefield. Then if you control 8 or more lands, you may discard a card. If you do, return Journey to the Oracle to its owner's hand. So here I would put in maybe even a spell and maybe even like a land matter deck. Again, Magecraft, that's a new ability here in Strixhaven, so it triggers every time you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell. There's a lot of attractive instant sorcery spell in green and in blue, so very easy to break that deck, I'm sure. Then there are 5 new commanders for Boros and Lorehold. I didn't really pick any here to review particularly in details. Then there's Golgari or With a Bloom. So there's 4 new commanders. I picked one here to kind of get a little focus on, of course. It's Bellatrix With a Bloom. So I'm going to read it. It costs 5, a green and a black. It's an Elder Dragon as well. It has flying, it's a 4/4, and at the beginning of each upkeep, create a 1/1 black and green pest creature token with, when this creature dies, you gain 1 life. And its second ability is pay 10 life, untap all lands you control, activate only once each turn. So here you can definitely get something very big, even on the first turn that Bellatrix enters battlefield. It's a high cost, but with green you can ramp pretty easily. And then you can pay 10 life on the turns that it enters to get pretty much a second turn, because you'll get all your mana back, all your lands will be able to untap. And then again, huge payoff here. Keep casting spell. Again, you pretty much have, as long as you can gain life, which you can because you also create tokens that when they die you gain 1 life, so you get trump blockers to gain life to then untap your lands, and that's it. You really don't need to go that much further with Bellatrix. It's very powerful, very fast again. Then you have also 3 new commanders for Izzet or Prismari, and 3 new commanders as well for Orzhov and or Silverquill. Now let's move on to the 3 color commanders. There's only one. It is a Mardu color, so red, black, and white. The card is a double face card actually too. His name is Ectus Auric Overlord. It costs 1, a white, and 2 black. It's a human warlock, legendary creature of course, double strike, 2/4, and it has Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, you return target non-legendary creature card from your graveyard to your hand. And then on the other side, it's a sorcery called Awaken the Blood Avatar. It costs 6, a black and a red. It reads, as an additional cost to cast the spell, you may sacrifice any number of creatures. The spell costs 2 less to cast for each creature sacrificed this way. And then the actual spell is, each opponent sacrifices a creature, create a 3/6 black and red avatar creature token with haste, and whenever this creature attacks, it deals 3 damage to each opponent. So here for me it's pretty easy. You put it into an aristocrats type deck, you sacrifice some creatures even with the sorcery, and then with excess you can return your non-legendary creature cards from your graveyard to your hand each time you cast an instant sorcery spell. So I don't usually play a lot of aristocrats, but I believe I might build a deck around this commander in this particular type deck. I've always wanted to try it. I feel like I've got my commander. It's Mardu, so you'll get a ton of sacrifice support as well, free sacrifice outlets, and then sacrifice payoffs. And you have one already with your commander with that sorcery spell. So again, pretty powerful card here. And you have one 5-color commander. It is Cody Vociferous Codex. So it's a legendary artifact creature. It's a construct. It costs 3 to cast. It's a 1/4, and you cannot cast permanent spells while it's on the battlefield. Its second ability is 4. Tap it, add a white, a blue, a black, a red, and a green. And when you cast your next spell this turn, you exile cards from the top of your library until you exile an instant or sorcery card with lesser mana value. Until end of turn, you may cast a card without paying its mana cost. Put each other card exiled this way on the bottom of your library in a random order. This is a lot of text here. Again, pretty much you pay 4 mana, you tap it, you add 5 mana, one of each color, and then whenever you cast your next spell this turn, you exile cards from the top of your library until you exile an instant or sorcery card with lesser mana value, and until turn you can cast that card without paying its mana cost. And you put each card exiled this way back into the library at the bottom. So it's a little bit of a cascade type ability here. So it's very interesting, a little bit limiting because you cannot cast any permanent spells while it's on the battlefield. But I'm sure there's ways to break it. There's a lot of powerful instant and sorcery spells in Strixhaven already. You can go back all the way back to Magic history, and you'll find other powerful spells that you can abuse this commander. Personally, for me, I would try to build maybe like a school type commander deck where I put all the deans, all the other dragons, all the powerful spells from Strixhaven, and have a lot of fun with Cody. Yes, you won't be able to cast your Elder Dragons and your Deans while it's on the battlefield, but while it's not, you definitely can. And so you cast your Cody, your commander, and then you play it, and then when it dies, when it's removed, you play your Deans, and then you will also get like a lot of value from the Deans, and again, even from the Elder Dragons. That's the way I would go with it. So now let's switch to the Mystical Archive cards. So what are they? They are showcase borderless treatment cards. They are plucked from all Magic history, so it's great serial prints. You have 63 cards in regular version and 63 cards in Japanese alternate art. They are the same, so you only have 63 individual cards, even if you have a total of 126 different cards. They're not standard legal, but that's okay because we play DH. There are 18 uncommon, 30 rare, and 15 mythic cards in this set. How to get them? You have guaranteed 1 per pack in draft and set boosters, and guaranteed 3 per pack in collector boosters, including 2 foil edge cards and 1 Japanese alternate version card. As far as the foil edge goes, for the regular versions, it's just a little bit around the edges that the gold is foiled, but it's not as big as it was in Commander Legends. And for the Japanese cards, it is just around the text box, not even the name of the card inside that box, it's just the border of the text box at the bottom of the card. You have some notable reprints like Demonic Tutor, Teferi's Protection, Time Warp, and Natural Order. And again, as they are showcased, they will replace the showcase cards that we had before in the Kaldheim with the Nordic showcase frame. In Zendikar was the Landfall showcase frame. In Ikoria it was the Mutate showcase frames. In Throne of Eldraine it was the Adventure cards. And then all the way back in Theros it was the Starry gods that had the showcase treatment. So I think Mystical Archive here is what excites a lot of people around this set, and again you get 1 in every booster that you get, whether it's draft or set, and more again in the collector boosters. So it's a great little specialty here in this set. I would recommend it if you can get your hands on it. Again, I can't really read Japanese, I was not that excited, and once I opened them I was like, I'm sold. These are amazing art, and I love the Japanese style, and even there's also its own style in the regular version of the mystical art, and I think it's just fantastic. Let's talk about the mythics and rares of this set now. I'm gonna first focus on the mythics, so I have a few here that I've selected that I'm gonna talk a little bit more in details. but to list them all, there's Professor Onyx in black, Harness Infinity, a With a Bloom spell, Crackle with Power red spell, Ecological Appreciation a green spell. You have Rowan and Will, the Planeswalker that's double-faced. It's a Prismary color here, so red and blue. Blot Out the Sky, it's a spell in Silver Quill colors. You then have the 3 other Elder Dragons that have been talked about, so Galazeth Prismary, Shadrick Silverquill, and Vilmachus Lorehold. You have Magma Opus, the Prismary spell, Body of Research, that's the Quandrix spell, Casmina, Ending the Sage, the Planeswalker in the Quandrix colors. You have Mascot Exhibition, that's a colorless spell here. You have Blex, Vex, and Pest on one side, and Search for Blex on the other. So it's a legendary creature with a sorcery in the With the Bloom colors. And you have Mila, Crafty Companion, a red card with a red double face Luca, Wayward Bonder, so it's a Planeswalker. And then finally another Boros or Lorehold commander called Hodri Gosforge. So here I've selected 4 cards to talk about them a little bit more. The first one is Professor Onyx, which is none other than Liliana. So it's a legendary Planeswalker, Liliana. It costs 4 and 2 black. It comes onto the battlefield with 5 loyalty. It has also Magecraft, so that's the static ability. Again, Magecraft is whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, and here for Liliana is each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. The +1 ability is you lose 1 life, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. The -3 ability is each opponent sacrifices a creature with the greatest power among creatures that player controls. And -8 is each opponent may discard a card. If they don't, they lose 3 life, and repeat this process 6 more times. So you can pretty much discard a whole hand if that hand is 7 cards with the ultimate ability of Professor Onyx. So here you can definitely put it into maybe like a black discard deck if you want to go mono black. I'm sure there's another way where you can have like a spell slinger type deck, but for me I think it's a legendary Planeswalker, so it cannot be your commander, of course, but you can still put it into a black deck. And then I think again maybe like going in with the discard, maybe with Tiny Bones could be fun. But yeah, it's a great card. I really love it. And again, it's Liliana, one of my favorite Planeswalkers. Now let's talk a bit about Harness Infinity. So it's an instant spell. It costs 1, 3 black, and 3 green. It's an instant, and it says exchange your hand and graveyard, and you exile Harness Infinity after that. So again, in green and black, you will have a lot of effect that you can mill your library. And then once you have enough cards in your graveyard, you play this little spell and you exchange your hand and your graveyard. So this could be the last spell in your hand, you cast it, and boom, your whole graveyard is in your hand. Hopefully you have a card on battlefield that says you have no maximum hand size, and then that's it. I think you win after this. You can pretty much get all your powerful spells and creatures from your graveyard back into your hand. Maybe you also have Beledros as your commander, or is on the battlefield where you can pay 10 life and then untap your lands. So again, this is one of the big payoff spells that I was talking about earlier. You can put it in Beledros deck, and then after that I think you can pretty much cast any spell that you got back from your graveyard, and I think you can find a way to win very easily. Another spell here that I want to talk about is Body of Research in the Quandrix colors. So it costs 3 green and 3 blue. It's a sorcery, and it reads, create a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token, put X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the number of cards in your library. So here on the opposite side of Harness Infinity, you have Body of Research. Again, because Harness of Infinity, you want to have the tiniest library possible, so that way you can get those cards back into your hand. And here with Body of Research, you want to have the biggest library possible when you play this spell, when you cast it, because that way you will get the biggest possible fractal creature token. Again, you won't be able to attack with it right away. It doesn't have trample. It is very easily removed from the battlefield, but I think you can get a huge spell, and maybe you find a way to abuse it. And maybe again, you put some haste on it, put some trample. It's very easy in those colors. Let's do it. And you swing with a big creature. I mean, think about it. The biggest they can get. It's probably around like an 80/80 seems possible in these colors. So yeah, you have that in Battlefield, and then you feel pretty good about yourself. And lastly, the last spell I want to talk about in the mythic category is Crackle with Power. Crackle with Power is a red spell. It costs 3x and 2 red. So you will have, let's say you want x to be 1, it will cost 1, 1, 1, red, red. It's a sorcery, and Crackle with Power deals 5 times x damage to each of up to x targets. So again, even if it's 1, so it costs 5, and you will deal 5 times 1 damage, so 5 damage to 1 target. So for 5 damage, and again, if it's for 2, so it'll be 2, 2, 2, so that's 6, plus 2 red, that's total 8, and you will deal 5 times 2 damage, so 10 damage to up to 2 targets. So very powerful, can be used as a finisher as well in red. I'm sure there's a lot of ways where you can think about X and infinite mana combos where you just get rid of people, and then you can also cast it, and you can probably find a way to copy it, especially here with this new set. You have a lot of ways to copy spells. So these are my 4 big mythics that I really like. Again, Professor Onyx is a legendary planeswalker, Harness Infinity, an instant in the Witherbloom or Golgari colors, Body of Research, a sorcery in Simic or Quandrix colors, and Crackle with Power, a red sorcery spell. So now let's switch to the rares of this set. There are a total of 69 rares in this Strixhaven set. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Elite Spellbinder. So it is the World Champion card designed, or at least partly designed, I believe, by Polo Vitor Damodarosa. So Elite Spellbinder is a white creature. It costs 2 and a white. It's a human cleric. It's a 3/1. It has flying. And when it enters battlefield, look at target opponent's hand. You may exile a non-land card from it. For as long as that card remains exiled, its owner may play it. And a spell cast this way costs 2 more to cast. So it is a one-time effect. It is a one-time taxing effect. But I just chose to focus on it because it was a World Champion card. And then the last one was Fervent Champion, also a very good card. So I'm assuming Elite Spellbinder will see some play. I'm not sure if I will play it myself because I don't really like to play taxing decks personally, but I know there are some stacks and whatnot. So this is the first rare card that I chose to talk about. Then there's a few cycles here in this set. The first one being the Mastery cycle with Devastating Mastery, Ingenious Mastery, Baleful Mastery, Fervent Mastery, and Verdant Mastery. So you have one for each color. A white one, a blue one, a black one, a red one, and a green one. The particularity in this cycle is that they have a cost, and then they have an alternative cost. Where if you play that card for its alternative cost, your opponent will get something back from it. It will not be as powerful, of course. So, for example, with the Baleful Mastery, so it's the black spell, it costs 3 and a black. But it says you may pay 1 and a black rather than pay the spell's mana cost. And if you do this, so if the 1 and the black cost was paid, an opponent draws a card. And the card itself says exile target creature or planeswalker. So you can either exile a target creature or planeswalker for 4, or you can do it for 2, but your opponent will draw a card. So they're a little bit flexible. They're powerful spells still. Again, depends on when you draw them, when you want to play them, and what type of situation you're in. These are definitely good cards, I believe. And you have a Dean cycle as well. So here you have 1 Dean per school. The Dean that I'm going to focus on here is the Witherbloom Dean. So it's Valentine, Dean of the Vein. Costs 1 black to play. It's a Vampire Warlock. It's a 1/1, it has Menace and Lifelink. And if a non-token creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead. When you do, you may pay 2. And if you do, create a 1/1 black and green pass creature token with, when this creature dies, you gain 1 life. And on the other side is Lisette, Dean of the Root. It costs 2 and 2 green. It's a human druid, so 4/4, and whenever you gain life, you may pay 1. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control, and those creatures can trample until end of turn. So here both sides are powerful. To me, I think I like the black side better. And again, remember, you can put these cards in any deck that the commander is both green and black, or at least green and black. But you can also use these as your commander. You will be able to cast both spells, and of course they will let you use cards of both colors, green and black. So yeah, I really like this card. Again, it's very impactful right away on the black side. The green side may be, depending on what you have on the battlefield at the time, you can cast it as well. But for me, I think I would definitely use it more for the black side and Valentine. Get this little pest, maybe in a Bellatrix deck again, get a bunch of these little pests, get some lifelink, get some life going, and yeah, get some mean stuff in Witherbloom here. And so you have also a land cycle here in this set. You have 5 new rare lands, 5 lands for 5 schools again, so 1 per school, 1 per color combination. They are called snarls. So you have Shine Shadow in Silverquill, Fine Glimmer in Quandrix, Necroblossom in Witherbloom, Frostboil Snarl in Prismary, and Fury Column Snarl in Lorehold. They're all the same, of course, because it's a cycle, and it is, as they enter the battlefield, you may reveal so either or of the color, so either plain or swamp, etc., etc., and card from your hand, and if you don't, it enters the battlefield tap. So again, I was reading Shine Shadow Snarl, so as it enters the battlefield, you may reveal plains or swamp card from your hand. If you don't, it enters the battlefield tap, and again, add 1 white or 1 black, and that is the same for each land. And again, you change the color depending on the school that you play with. And apart from the Dean cycle, you also have another cycle of double face cards. So you have 6 total here, rares, where you have 1 colorless and then 5 others for each school. So I'm going to focus on Augmenter Pugilist and Echoing Equation. So it's the Quandrix double face card. So Augmenter Pugilist is a green creature. It's a troll druid. It costs 1 and 2 green. It's a 3/3 with trample, and as long as you control 8 or more lands, it gets +5/+5. So early on, you have a 3/3 with trample, and if it stays on the battlefield as the game goes on, you will get an 8/8 with trample. And on the other side, so it's a sorcery. It's a blue sorcery again. It costs 3 and 2 blue. And it says choose target creature you control. Each other creature you control becomes a copy of it until end of turn, except those creatures aren't legendary if the chosen creature is legendary. So yeah, here you can pick your best creature and make all your other creatures become a copy of it. So this is definitely like a game-changing spell, probably a game-winning spell too, depending on the time that you play it and the battlefield that you have and the board state that you have. Apart from that, there's also a command cycle. So here in the command cycle, again, you have 5 commands, 1 for each school. I will probably focus on the Prismary here command, as it is maybe, I think, the most powerful of the cycle. So it's called Prismary Command, the all name of the school plus command. And so this one here, it costs 1, a blue and a red. It's an instant, and you choose 2 between 4 modes. The first one is deal 2 damage to any target. Target player draws 2 cards, then discard 2 cards. Third one is target player creates a treasure token and you destroy an artifact. So here again, they're all very flexible. I chose to focus on this one because I think, again, you can, it has a shock, it has a faceless looting in it, and then again, you can create a treasure token or destroy target artifact. So it's a very powerful, very flexible card. I'm really liking it. And also, I want to talk about this Strixhaven Stadium card. It is a new win con, or more of a lose con actually, for this card. So it's an artifact, it costs 3, and you can tap it to add 1 colorless and put a point counter on Strixhaven Stadium. And whenever a creature deals combat damage to you, you remove a point counter from Strixhaven Stadium, and whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to an opponent, you put a point counter on Strixhaven Stadium, and then if it has 10 or more point counters on it, remove them all, and that player loses the game. So if you play a multiplayer commander game, you would have to put a 30 point counter during this game to kill all of your opponents with Strixhaven Stadium. I really like it. It's Quidditch, of course, I'm sure. And yeah, again, I love when you have alternative win cons or alternative lose con. Those are some of my favorite cards. So I think definitely if I can find a way to use Strixhaven and really you have, it's a mana rock and with the lose con. So yeah, I would say try to play it as much as you can and try to win with it, of course, as much as you can, or try to make your opponents lose as much as you can. Now let's talk a little bit about the flavor and the lore of the set. So maybe you already know Strixhaven is the most elite university in the multiverse. It is actually located in Arcavios, that's the plane. And then it features 5 colleges founded by the Elder Dragon, whose name each college bears. So again, you have Silverquill, Prismary, Witherbloom, Lowhold, and Quandrix. The 5 colleges battle it out with their own takes on magic. So each color combination has their own kind of spells and ability, of course. Several planeswalkers are on this plane. Again, they all have their own motivation. They have sought out Arcavios and Strixhaven as their refuge, so that's why they're here. And they will at one point get confronted by the Auric. So you have Liliana on this plane. She is actually an alumnus, so that's why she's back at her school under a fake name, and no one actually knows who she is. They don't know, well, I mean, they know her as Liliana, maybe Liliana Onyx or another different name, but they do not know what she has been doing outside of Strixhaven. You have to remember, this is a college. When you're in college, you have your own bubble. So that's kind of the same here. People do not know what's happening outside of Strixhaven. And so again, that's why she's able to be undercover and no one knows about it. You also have Will and Rowan, so the twins from Eldraine. They are invited on Strixhaven by Kazmina. And they are actually invited by her just a few days after Garruk decided to leave them on their own and it will not be necessary for him to be their security. And of course, as soon as they get onto campus, they get into trouble. And the last planeswalker, so you have already 4, so you have a 5th planeswalker here called Luca. Luca from Ikoria. He's the first one actually to encounter the Auric and kind of getting dragged into their world with his trusty companion Mila. Again, you have to know that this Strixhaven here is a little bit of a Harry Potter meets magic environment, and as the usual take on magic, you also have the story spotlight within the cards that you can play with. So here there's cards that are represented by this story are Crackle with Power, Culmination of Studies, Defend the Campus, Draconic Intervention, Explosive Welcome, Extus Auric Overlord / Awakened Blood Avatar, Letter of Acceptance, Mage Hunter's Onslaught, Mascot Interception, Mentor's Guidance, Plumb the Forbidden, Practical Research, Professor's Warning, Rise of Extus, and Tempted by the Auric. They're not in the order of the story. I will not mention more of the story because I think if you want to get more into it, you can just go on Magic's website. All of the stories are out there. I read the first chapter. It's very interesting. It's also kind of fun to then play with the cards that are relating to the story. It's very fun. Again, remember, you can identify them by the mentioned story spotlight just above the artist's name on the card that you play with. And finally, I'm going to share now my overall impressions and thoughts about this new set. So for me, again, first of all, it's always great when we go visit new planes. So here the new plane is Arcavios. So Strixhaven is located on Arcavios. There's a few cards mentioning it. Jadzi, especially the Oracle of Arcavios. But again, for me it's always fun to discover a new environment, new culture, new background, new lore, new characters. So yeah, that's, I think for me is a plus for this set. Then again, it is literally about magic. So here it is a set where you can go back to basics with Magic the Gathering. You don't have any crazy IP being mixed up in it, like Walking Dead. Even if personally I like those initiatives by Wizards of the Coast. I personally like the diversification, and I'm also very excited about the new product next year with Warhammer 40k. There's also some Lord of the Rings going on, and later in the year we'll actually get some Dungeons and Dragons, which is okay because it's already owned by Wizards. But here, to go back to Strixhaven, Strixhaven is about magic, School of Mages. You have a lot of instant, a lot of sorcery spells available in this new set. So yeah, for me again, it's another plus. Magic is about magic, and here that's what you're getting. You're getting a lot of it, a lot of magic. I also love the 5 schools. I think it's always fun when you have some sort of identity behind the story, behind the cards that you play with. It is a little bit the same as what we can see on Tark here with the clans. It was also with the Guilds in Ravnica. Again, for me, it's just another variation of it. I like it. Again, some people here will be a bit disappointed. It's another new name for a color combination already existing. And here again, I think it just makes sense. Each place in the multiverse of Magic will have their own name for their magic. So I'm not surprised that even if technically Izzet and Prismary can be the same thing, because it seems to be like a lot of Spellslinger based, well, guess what? They're in Strixhaven, they're in Arcavios, and they are on Ravnica. So it's 2 different places. I'm okay with having 2 different kind of names. And here actually you kind of get maybe a new mechanic for Boros, where you get a little bit of graveyard recursion here from Laurel with this whole archaeology theme, which is again I think on point. As far as the cards themselves, great new cards for Commander. Again, you get a lot of new commanders, a lot of powerful spells. Those X spells I think are very efficient in Commander, especially in the late game where you can get some crazy infinite mana combos. Mystical Archive, again, that's a hit for me. Again, tool, new type of art, new type of frames with already existing cards. So a bunch of new reprints. I love them. I mean, I was able to get Teferi's Protection myself and Approach of the Second Sun. Those are my 2 favorite cards that I got from my box that I opened. So again, I think this is another point for them, for Wizards here for this set. As far as the mechanics of the set actually here, a little bit disappointed on the Learn Lesson because it's not available in Commander. I'm sure you can have that rule 0 and then be like, hey, you know what, for my Commander games I want to be able to get those lessons from the sideboard. I think I might build some decks like this for Kitchen Magic. Again, if your opponents and if your friends are okay with it, I don't see why not. And again, remember, you can still use the lesson as sorceries in your deck, and the Learn in Commander will act as a loot effect. So you'll discard and draw a card. And then the other 2 mechanics of this set are Ward. So Ward is if a spell targets this creature with Ward or a permanent with Ward, you will counter it unless the opponent or the player targeting your permanent pays the extra cost. For example, if it has Ward 8, you have to pay, well, the opponent will have to pay 8 more to cast that spell to target your permanent. If it says Ward paid 3 life, your opponent will have to pay 3 life, etc, etc. So it's a good protection on your card. And the third mechanic is craft again whenever you cast or copy an instant and or sorcery spell, of course. So again, for me, I think I don't really see a lot of a negative for Strixhaven as far as the gameplay. There's only one little thing with the Learn Lesson that's not possible for Commander, but the other 2 are great. Again, Magecraft, you can do that with Storm. I mean, I just played a game with a Prismary Precon where I was able to go off with Epic Experiment, cost that for 9 for X, and then I copied that and I had the Storm count on it. I mean, it went crazy. So again, this is Magecraft, I think, for me. I'm kind of a spell slinger. I love to play Izzet decks. I have a Nif Mizzet. I mean, here it's everything that I love. So the final word is that Strixhaven is a great set, so make sure you get your hands on some of those cards. Whether it's buying singles or buying sealed products, make sure you hit Velpa. You'll have bundles available. You have boosters, you have draft boosters, set boosters, collector boosters. You also have the C21 pre-con decks. So yeah, get your hands on some cards, open some packs, build a deck, and then make sure to hit us up on the Discord channel. Let's play some games, let's have some fun. This is what Magic is all about. Again, thank you for listening and watching me here for this review. I hope I can make some more in the future. And again, have fun and play Magic. See you guys.